from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Welcome to the Tuesday night edition of the program. We're live and national, 7 minutes past the top of the hour. And if you want to join the show, here's the number, 833-482-5337, 833-4Valdez. And the drama continues in Washington. He said, she said. Trump is blasting Obama for what he did with the Russia hoax, and rightfully so. And Team Obama is actually responding. We're going to get to some of their comments when we come back. But right now, I want to get into a little bit about what El Trompito said today in the White House, doubling down, reminding everybody of what it was that Obama did and what exactly Tulsi Gabbard did. I want you to listen to El Trompito Donaldus Magnus, the 45th and 47th President of these United States, in the White House today.
Tulsi Gabbard has submitted a criminal referral to the Department of Justice. From your perspective, who should the DOJ target as part of their investigation? What specific figures in the Obama administration?
Well, based on what I read, and I read pretty much what you read, it would be President Obama. He started it. And Biden was there with him. And Comey was there, and Clapper, the whole group was there. Brennan, they were all there in a room, right here. This was the room. This is much more beautiful than it was then, but that's okay. I have nice pictures up. They came out of the vaults. They were in there for 100 years. This is much more beautiful. We have the Declaration of Independence now in the room, which wasn't here. I guess people didn't feel too good about putting it here, but I do. But you know what? If you look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people all over the place. It was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life, that's the one they look. He's guilty. It's not a question. You know, I like to say. Let's give it time. It's there. He's guilty. This was treason. This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things that nobody's ever even imagined, even in other countries. You've seen some pretty rough countries. This man has seen some pretty rough countries, but you've never seen anything like that. And we have all of the documents. And from what Tulsi told me, she's got thousands of additional documents coming.
They've got thousands of additional documents. So, look, I think Trump isn't backing down on this one, and good for him. I'm glad he's putting it out there. I'm glad he's correcting the public record. I'm glad he's correcting the historical record. He's taking them to task. That's the first step in anything happening. Now, you guys know me. I'm very jaded by people paying the price of jail time for things that they do. I'm not saying I don't support it. I'm all for it. Lock them up and throw away the key. The problem is I just don't know that we can get those convictions. I hope we can, but it seems like we can't even keep some of our people in office. Look at what's going on in my home state of New Jersey. They're trying to oust Alina Habba, and it looks like they got her out. They've now selected her first assistant to take over for her. This fight against the deep state is not a one-sided fight, like we fight against them and they just sit there and take it. They're fighting back every step of the way. And this is the part I think that many just lose sight of, just because the balance of power has shifted in our direction, and we've got El Trompito in the White House, we've got Speaker Johnson in the House, and Leader Thune in the Senate. It doesn't mean that these are guaranteed wins. And that's on the political front. You've got Kash Patel and Bongino and Bondi. These are great patriots. But it doesn't mean that it's a slam dunk and a win on the law enforcement end either with Kristi Noem. Speaking of Kristi Noem, she blasted the mayor of New York City, the one that some of my my good MAGA friends were supporting for some obscene, crazy reason, that he should be the mayor of the city of New York, not the legendary Curtis Sliwa. But that's not the point here. The point here is Eric Adams also firing back, saying if Holman's going to send the Border Patrol and ICE and flood our streets, he had something to say about Holman's, I guess, what he's considering a threat. And we've got, I guess I have time. I can give you both. All right. So CBS News, you've got Border Czar Tom Homan speaking with them, saying that you need 100,000 more beds to carry out all of the mass deportations that are going to occur. Listen to this.
Border Czar Tom Homan says 100,000 beds are needed to carry out mass deportations as part of President Donald Trump's immigration crackdown.
These operations take time. They're well thought out operations. We need to know that there's a number of beds available when we take the bad guys off the street. So we need to bring beds on as quick as possible, and that's exactly what we're doing.
That's exactly what he wants to do. And, of course, you've got Mayor Eric Adams, who he didn't take well to what Border Czar Homan had to say. I want you to listen to this quick clip from Mayor Adams. Listen
as a result of the shooting over the weekend,
yes,
Tom Homan is now saying his words, I'm going to flood the zone in New York City with ICE officers. Do you welcome that?
To do what? To go after dangerous people like this individual who shot an innocent Custom Border Patrol agent? He's lying in a hospital when I went to see him, heavily sedated. He was, shot while sitting down enjoying the heat. If he's going to assist us to go after those individuals, I welcome it.
Hold it right there.
If it's going to be...
If he's going to assist us, no, he's not assisting you. He's got the jurisdiction here. See, this is why you can't trust a snake oil salesman like Eric Adams. If he's going to... Sir, what are you doing? What are you doing? All of these things are happening on your watch. For him to say that if he's going to assist us, since when is it the job of the mayor to coordinate immigration activity? It's never their job, right? The only job they have is to actually participate and cooperate with ICE, something he hasn't done. Why? Because he never reversed the policy of New York City being a sanctuary city. He made one complaint about immigration, and that landed him in some hot water with the Biden folks. And all of a sudden, what, we think he's a saint? Come on. This guy is a clown. And the fact that he thinks if Tom Homan, who's a pretty serious guy, and he's kept his word on everything I've heard him talk about, if he says we're going to flood the streets and we're going to do what we got to do, I'd believe him. The last thing I'd say is, well, if Tom Homan wants to help me clean things up, are you kidding me? This Mayor Adams, he's got to go. His days are numbered, and I really hope they don't continue. This man is an embarrassment to anybody who's even tangentially related to the city of New York. Eric Adams has to go. Mamdani has to go. Cuomo, we already got rid of him. Unbelievable. Anyway, amigos, we're going to continue the conversation straight ahead. Keep it locked right here.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Well, thank you, Rich, and thank you for everything. I know you very well, and I listen, but I have a lot of people that listen, and they love your show, and I appreciate it very much.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
So millions of people prior to election time, they allowed millions and millions of people to come into you saw it. They'd open the gates. If you took an Alabama-LSU football game that holds 128,000 people, I was there, 128,000 people, and I liked them and they liked me. But if you took that and doubled it, that's what used to flow into our country on a daily basis. It's not even believable. And we're getting them out, and we're starting with the worst ones. And we had a man shot yesterday, a police officer who's great gentleman, shot right here in the throat. Probably won't be able to speak again. But he was brave, and he shot the other guy, and they ended up getting him. And you saw the scene where His friend took him to a hospital and dumped him down on the sidewalk. The whole thing was crazy. But why would anybody do to our country what these Democrats have done? And honestly, we can never forget it. We can never forget it. What they have done, the damage that they've done to America is very, very sad.
That's President Trump in the White House earlier today with the president of the Philippines, and talking about how many people came across this border. And I couldn't help but think, what about all the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations that have been advising the illegal aliens on how to lie to law enforcement? So we've got them attacking law enforcement. We've got them lying to law enforcement. We've had AOC and Speaker Jeffries calling for people to not even try and prosecute members of Congress that have attacked federal law enforcement. And it's all the same, right? It's like Democrats they've never met a rule breaker they didn't like, a criminal they didn't love. And Mike Howell, president of the Oversight Project, appeared before Congress recently, the Senate Judiciary Committee, giving testimony with respect to what exactly is going on with these NGOs, and speaking in front of the House, as well. So I want to bring him in right now. Mike Howell, president of the Oversight Project. Welcome back, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
You bet, brother. I saw you making a bunch of headlines. I saw a piece in the New York Post talking about your testimony and how you held them to task as you were doing it, and good for you for doing it. Tell us a little bit about what you were trying to expose to Congress and how they fought you on it.
Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward, honestly. It was a hearing called by the Homeland Security Committee, and it was on the role of nonprofits in Biden's border crisis. And so I've done a lot of work in this area. We've spoken about it before. It's kind of been my thing for, the better part of a decade now, calling this out. And I'm giving my opening remarks, and I'm setting up kind of how the nonprofits work as a blob and how they're not even non-governmental because they're creatures of the government. They get money from the government. They get preferential tax status. And I'm walking through
and they don't exist but for the government, right, Mike Howell?
That's exactly right. I mean, they're pass-through entities that don't pay taxes, and a lot of them get money from the government or, contributions from other, foundations that get other things from the government. It's all one big blob. And so essentially I was going to make the point that now that Biden's out, these open borders nonprofit and this industry is obstructing ICE, what you were just saying. And so I was going through statistics on how ICE is being assaulted at an almost 1,000% increase, and how Democrats' rhetoric is politically mainstreaming and making that assault acceptable. And I was quoting Democrats on it, and saying things like they needed blood in the streets to wake people up, and that violence was going to happen. And as I was making those points, no more than a minute into my testimony, Benny Thompson, the Democrat ranking member, cut me off.
Mr. January 6th?
Mr. January 6th, Mr. Political Rhetoric Equals Violence, man. He didn't like it when I was quoting Democrats, actually, with rhetoric that actually led to violence. And so he cut me off, and he called for a vote because he issued some sort of privileged motion that they had to deal with or something to that effect. It turned into a circus, and I had to call everyone back in and vote on it. And so ultimately we won, and I, as they say, reclaimed my time and continued my testimony. But they were none too pleased, and it kind of went downhill for the Democrats from there.
Mike Howell, I mean, just a quick aside, I really do. I find it fascinating how Democrats talk so much smack and they never want to have the fight. They want to fight as much as they want when nobody's looking, but when you're there to actually defend yourself and you want to have an argument, you want to have an actual debate, an actual discussion, they never want to have it. And I feel like it's because they're afraid of the truth. What do you think?
I think you're absolutely right. And to be clear, I went into that looking for a fight. I wasn't there to defend myself. I was there to attack them, rhetorically, of course.
Yeah.
And one thing I've learned, I've been in this game for a while, is the Democrats, they don't ask Republicans questions because they know they'll get into a debate and they know they'll lose. And so traditionally, Republicans get questions from the Republicans and Democrat witnesses get, questions from the Democrats. But I think given the bombast in which I started, Benny Thompson seized the opportunity to kind of just start the fight then and there. And after that, Democrats didn't ask a single question until, get this, 7 hours later. They dragged the hearing on for 7 hours because they were using these procedural tricks to slow down the hearing, where they would basically call for a subpoena of some random Trump official. Then it would have to go to a vote, and of course the vote would fail. And so they did this on loop up until the very last Democrat, a woman I frankly thought was a staffer. I had never recognized her. It's her turn, and, I'm bleary-eyed. Honestly, at this point, like half of us are checking our cell phones, just chit-chattering. And I just hear out of my ear, Mr. Howell. And I think, oh, my gosh, she's asking me a question. And so I tell her ever so politely, I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. Can you say your question again? And I thought her head was going to explode. And then we had an electric back and forth, which she had a little trapper keeper of notes that her staff had prepared for her in a little script. And once, it became a live exercise, so to speak, she was out to sea, and I had a lot of fun with her.
Love that. Now, what was the I saw the clip. We weren't able to grab it. But what was I know she was very angry. She was really bothered at what you were saying. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, there's a couple. I think my favorite was one of the things Democrats are doing right now is they're trying to get arrested, to put it simply. They're showing up at places they shouldn't be, breaking laws to make a political stunt. We saw this with Padilla out in California, and then, of course, Representative McIver in New Jersey. Sure. And so what Democrats are doing is they have misread the law, shocker, and they think they have a right to show up at an ICE facility unannounced whenever they want and just walk around an ICE detention facility. It's absolutely insane. And it's because the Democrat was making the point to me. She says, don't you agree I have an absolute right to go there whenever I want? I told her, no, I've written on this extensively, and I've walked you through the statute. That's the statute, which probably is not even constitutional, reserves that right for oversight, which is a constitutional power for the full House, which right now is in control of Republicans. And so I basically told her, as a Democrat, she needs permission from the Republicans. And she did not like that answer. I assured her I'm doing my best to keep her out of jail because the Democrats are clogging the jails up, getting arrested so much. And that she really did not like.
Oh, gosh. Folks, we're on with Mike Howell. He's president of the Oversight Project. And not only is he a wise guy, but he knows his stuff, and he's right. And that's why the Democrats are so upset. And I want to continue talking about not just the NGOs and the illegal aliens and how they're being advised to obfuscate federal law enforcement, but also the other legal maneuvers that are going on. As Mike Howell mentioned, LaMonica McIver shoving a Border Patrol person at one of those facilities in New Jersey. And now they've come for the U.S. attorney in New Jersey. I mean, you just can't really make this up. And I get that they have their procedural maneuvers there, but this is like an extension of the lawfare against Trump, part deux, if you will. So, Mike Howell, if you don't mind, stick with me. I want to come back and get your reaction to that and walk us through what you think is going on in New Jersey and with Alina Habba, the United States Attorney for the District of New Jersey. And, of course, amigos, your calls. Your calls are welcome, 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ.
You're educating America, and you are giving us an opportunity to speak freely. That's why I love this station, and I love your show.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
And shifting gears now to the Justice Department. They are now planning to interview Ghislaine Maxwell following outrage from some MAGA supporters over the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, President Trump's former personal attorney, says he anticipates meeting with Maxwell in the coming days. The president speaking on the matter earlier while meeting with the president of the Philippines, saying he had not heard about the plans, but that it sounded like, quote, an appropriate thing to do.
Do you have any concern that your Deputy Attorney General, as your former attorney, would be conducting the interview, given
No, I have no concern. He's a very talented person. He's very smart. I didn't know that they were going to do it. I don't really follow that too much. It's sort of a witch hunt, just a continuation of the witch hunt.
Despite the president's witch hunt claims, some Republicans on Capitol Hill have voted to subpoena Maxwell. To discuss, let's bring in ABC's Perry Russom. He is at our D.C. bureau, and ABC's Jay O'Brien on Capitol Hill. Thank you both for joining me. Perry, I want to start with you. What else is the administration saying about this planned meeting with Maxwell, and what is Maxwell's attorney saying, if we know?
Yeah, the DOJ says this meeting could be happening in the next few days, in the coming days. So we're talking about a pretty short window of us finding out about this to this meeting possibly happening. As you mentioned, the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who was Trump's former personal attorney representing him in a number of cases leading up to the 2024 election. He is the one that should be meeting with Maxwell. He says if Ghislaine has any information that is relevant to the DOJ or FBI, they want to hear from her. And it appears that Maxwell's attorney is open to this idea, saying today that they are in discussions with the government. He says, quote, Ghislaine will always testify truthfully. And this is a woman that a lot of people want to hear from. We heard from Epstein's former attorney over the weekend on Fox News, calling Ghislaine the Rosetta Stone of information, saying basically she knows everything. And it appears some members of Congress also want to hear from her.
So that's the latest on the Epstein. I'm going to call it a fiasco because it's like a soap opera at this point, but an important issue nonetheless. And I want to get, I guess, an interpretation of that, because I honestly don't know what to expect anymore. This woman's in jail. The other guy was in jail and he's dead. What can we possibly get? And why are we doing it so late in the game? Well, hopefully we get some answers to some of those questions from our guest, Mike Howell, president of the Oversight Project. Mike Howell, typically when they do these things, right, she's serving a 20-year sentence. Wouldn't she already have cut her deal?
Yeah, one would think. I mean, that's what's so bizarre about this. She's in prison. She's had ample time when she was prosecuted to try to make use of the information that she had. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand the motivations of someone staring down a lengthy sentence. All of this is bizarre. I think you're completely right. But what's not bizarre about it is that it all stems from that memo that came out on Sunday night in Axios a couple weeks ago. I've written on this, and as a huge supporter of the Trump administration, I think they missed the mark on that, and I think it's been cleaned up ever since. And so you run out of good options when you do something like that, and I think they're ticking through some bad options now.
Now, I guess legal/political question here: what was the purpose of this memo? This was water under the bridge, I think, for so many people. Why unearth it now? Or was that the plan? Is this a smokescreen for other things, or to, in Trumpian fashion, to throw a lot out there so that, they don't know which scandal to follow?
Yeah, I don't think this was 4D chess, so to speak. This memo was curious for a lot of reasons. I pointed them all out in an article I wrote, but I've never seen a joint memo like this from DOJ and FBI. Okay, like FBI works for the DOJ; it's inside the DOJ, and it was in a format that was highly unusual. And so as soon as I opened this thing, I said, "That's bizarre." And then no one signs it. And in D.C., there's only two reasons to do joint memos: either people want to share the credit, or they want to deflect the blame and spread that around. And so quickly, that was the tell. And then the memo did some other curious things. It announced that the FBI did no additional investigation whatsoever. They just went back and reviewed existing files. And I thought, that's kind of way out of line with what people expected. And then finally, it gratuitously said, and AG Bondi reiterated this today, there's no evidence to launch any investigations of third parties. And so if you're a third party, think Bill Gates, anyone else who went to the island, now your lawyer has a get-out-of-jail-free card. And I thought that was gratuitous and bizarre. Usually the government protects its position and flexibility as much as possible, yet they cut it all off. And so you read this, and it's so poorly written and so bizarre, you can only be led to think logically it was rushed. And the Sunday night timing over the July 4th weekend tends to confirm that. And I think a lot of people reasonably can point to the fact that Bibi Netanyahu was at the White House on Monday. And obviously the Epstein saga, everyone's prime question is, was this guy protected by intelligence? Foreign, American, shared, who knows? And so, I don't know the answer. All I know is that if you were trying to shut down conspiracy theories that he was an intelligence asset that maybe other countries had interest in, you don't do that on the eve of Bibi Netanyahu showing up at the White House.
Yeah. I agree. The timing was curious, and it seems like it's causing more trouble than it's worth. But I think the one positive from this was if they wanted everybody and their mama to talk about this topic, you got it. You scored, right? And for a while, I thought maybe that was what Trump wanted. He wanted to get the left chomping at the bit, asking for these Epstein names. I don't know if that was the case or not, but very interesting to say the least. So what do you think happens now? You've got, I guess, the DOJ doing their due diligence, saying, okay, if this woman has information, we're going to go talk to her. If it's pertinent and it makes sense. Is this CYA, or do you think there's, a new leg to this story?
No, I think what's happening right now is the government is taking steps that are unlikely to lead anywhere to show that they chase down leads and they can once again try to close it off. And so the grand jury, unsealing, quote unquote, nothing much is going to come out of that. That doesn't have the answers people are looking for, and there's a whole process involved in that. So people will be disappointed there. And then as it relates to Maxwell, I don't know. Do I think she's going to unveil the Rosetta Stone that leads to everything? Probably not. People have been speculating there could be a pardon involved. I have no idea. It's highly unusual, and credit to Deputy AG Blanche for going out there himself. I think there's something to be said about that. But ultimately, what I think should be done is answer the one question everyone wants to know. But if this were true, this is what I would want to hear. Yes, the U.S. government was aware of what Epstein was doing. Yes, intelligence in some way, whether directly, indirectly, American or foreign, had awareness and used intelligence connected with it, and it'll never happen again, and we should never again be aware of sex trafficking, even if it's very important elite people. And we're sorry, but for other reasons, we can't disclose every last thing because it'll, cause catastrophic damage. I think if the government just admitted the thing that everyone kind of already knows, this would go away, but we may be in too deep.
Now, I guess moving on from that, do you think if that were to happen, do you really think it would go away, or do you think that would open up a whole new? Well, who else was involved? I feel like the questions, no matter what you do, the questions don't go away.
Yeah, they certainly won't go away, but at least it's an acknowledgement, and I think people are a lot more understanding when people show contrition or particularly an admission of wrongdoing on the part of the U.S. government. That's a big deal. We don't get that very often, and I think that's probably about as far as you can go without doing what we all know they'll never do, which is full disclosure.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, Mike Howell, I want you to let everybody know how they can catch up to speed with all of your work and see the articles that you produce and follow the work of the Oversight Project and support you if they can.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Check us out on X at @itsyourgov, and our website's itsyourgov.org, and that's because, guess what? It's your government. People forget that the government works for you, so we like to step in that power. And I'm on X at @mhowelltweets, where we're posting all the latest and greatest.
Outstanding. Mike Howell, thanks for the time. I appreciate it. Keep doing what you do out there. God bless.
Thanks for having me.
You bet, brother. And we continue, amigos, your thoughts, your calls, and more coming up. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
After the guest leaves every night and we're doing open phones, kind of at the heartbeat of America. You sit there in this radio studio and suddenly you hear voices. Mobile, Dallas, New York, Miami. And there's kind of a conglomeration of America all in one room.
All right, amigos, welcome back. Open Phone America. Here we go, 833-482-5337. What's going on with Alina Habba in New Jersey? And I know she's out, but will she stay out? I'm wondering. I want to know also from you guys your thoughts on what's going on with Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, and all this deep state stuff. Let's go to the phones. I want to go to Steve is calling us from Atlanta, Georgia on WGKA. Steve, go right ahead.
Thanks for taking my call, Alex.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So you must be aware, that the district attorney who is prosecuting Ghislaine Maxwell and P. Diddy is the same person. It's a person, female, who is the son of the daughter of James Comey.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump recently fired her. You're aware of that, right?
Yeah. Last Thursday, she got the boot.
The one in charge of both of those. They have no interest, if you're deep state, to prosecute or to make a deal with either one of them. They want them to rot in jail and never say a damn thing about a damn thing. And so I can't believe the guy you had on wasn't aware of that. He didn't mention it.
Well, I don't think it's, that was the perspective. I think my question to him specifically was, wouldn't she already have made her deal if she was going to make one? Which was, I was alluding to the fact that she's been in jail for a couple of years. Why would we talk about making a deal now? And that was really what I was getting to. And I think that's still a valid point. It's not like she just magically remembered the names of people or has the information. She's always had this information, and she's never wanted to talk about it. So why now? I think she's doing it now because she sees a media opportunity, and maybe she can try to get something for nothing. But she's got nothing, or I would venture to say she's not going to give us anything, Steve. My thought.
Are you asking me?
No, I'm just telling you what I think.
Okay, so yes, there was a prosecutor before who didn't want to make a deal, who just wanted to be in jail. Now we have a prosecutor who's under a lot of pressure to make the deal and get the info. I think there will be a deal to get her out of jail.
I doubt it because she's not waiting sentencing. She's been sentenced to 20 years.
Absolutely, but they can overturn that stuff. They absolutely will.
I think her attorneys are eager to try and do that, but I don't think that there's anything there.
She's willing to. She doesn't want to rot in jail. So this is what's going to happen. Trust me. The prosecutor before was a corrupt prosecutor who didn't want to make a deal, didn't want the information. That's all I have to say.
All right. Well, I think the prosecutor before was it? You're saying Bill Barr? Is that who it was?
It was Comey's
the prosecutor?
Daughter.
That's the prosecutor on the case. But the attorney general during that time, I think, was Bill Barr. Right? They locked her up during the time that Trump was in office.
The prosecutor was James Comey's daughter.
But she
was in charge.
I know, but that's like saying, the producer is so-and-so, but ultimately there's more people involved. They all report to the attorney general.
Saying Bill Barr is not corrupt?
I'm not. I'm asking you who you were referring to, and you clarified for me. And I'm just saying Maureen Comey is not the end-all, be-all of what happens on that case.
Her superior is also corrupt. You can agree on that, right?
I can't agree on that because I don't know if he was the attorney general when she was arrested. That was a question I was asking you. I don't have that information, so I'll have to do some research and get back to you. I think Bill Barr is I wouldn't call him corrupt. I would call him a lazy establishment person that loves Washington, loves permanent Washington, and there's a lot of people like that. They don't want to get to the truth. They want to maintain the status quo and move things along and that type of thing, go along to get along types. And there's a lot of them in Washington. I'd say there's probably for every one person out there that's trying to do the right thing, there's 8 or 9 of those. And I wouldn't label him as corrupt per se. Again, I think it didn't fit in his brain that the things that were happening were actually happening because he's so used to seeing things through the eyes of a deep stater. And this is just how they view things all too often. So is that corruption? I guess one could make the argument, but I don't think it was necessarily corrupt. I think the fact that you say, I'm going to look into the 2020 election and not do it I guess you could make that argument that it's corruption, but I would really venture along the lines of lazy and just really blissfully unaware. And maybe I'm being overly generous. Maybe that's me being too nice to somebody who's, willfully turning a blind eye. That could also be the case. But my time in government, I worked with so many people that they didn't turn a blind eye because they were trying to promote the corruption of X, Y, or Z. They were turning a blind eye because they wanted to ensure that their pension and their paycheck came unmolested. And they tried to do the least amount of work to maximize the payout that they were getting. And that was it. They wanted that summer house. They wanted to pay off their existing house. They wanted to make sure they helped their kids with a home or with school loans or whatever it was. They lived a beautiful life. And they wanted to continue living a beautiful life where the things that you, me, and everybody else go through didn't happen to them, right? Look at Comey. He's 7 feet tall. He writes these books. He makes a bunch of money on these books. He single-handedly, decided not to prosecute Hillary Clinton. Who cares about the attorney general, right? See, I would say that was corrupt. That's totally outside the scope of his job. So I didn't see Bill Barr do anything like what I saw Comey do. But again, it's debatable. Maybe people will call me and school me and tell me, you're nuts, Valdez. Either way, Steve, thanks for the call, brother. I got to take a pause right here. I'm a little over time. WGKA in the building. I'll be right back.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, to the phones we go. Let's go to H in Fairfax, Virginia, WMAL. You want to tell us about the connection between Bill Barr's father and Jeffrey Epstein? Go right ahead.
Yes, Bill Barr's father was the principal of Dalton School in New York, a very expensive and exclusive school. And he hired Jeffrey Epstein as a math instructor for a period of maybe 18 months or more at the behest of a Wall Street head of a Wall Street investment banking firm, Ace Greenberg.
Okay.
Secondly, what I forgot to tell the call screener is Bill Barr, the first 8 years of his career, let's say 6 plus, he worked at the CIA while he was getting his master's at GW in Chinese. He actually speaks Chinese. He's a Chinese linguistics person originally, before he then went on to law school while studying. I believe he was with the CIA the whole time. So he is a deep state creature and loves
without question.
her.
But what I was saying was I don't know if he had a specific reason to look the other way. This connection with his dad is something I've heard before. I don't know that ever materialized into anything more than coincidence, because a lot of times political figures run in the same circles. But worthy of taking a look at, and this is part of what I thought would be followed up on with with all this reinvigorated investigating into this case, with the FBI and whatnot. So if there is something there, hopefully they'll find it. So far, it seems like whatever looking they've done, they've come up with nothing. So thank you for the call. I appreciate it. And we'll continue this discussion. I'm curious to hear from more of you, see if somebody can convince me. I'm not saying Bill Barr's a good guy. I'm just saying, I don't know. Anyway, hasta la próxima. Take care. Good night. And God bless you, America. I'm Rich Valdez, and I'm coming right back.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Welcome to the Tuesday night edition of the program. It's the second hour of the show, and I am thrilled to be here with you. 7 minutes past the top of the hour. Here's the number, 833-482-5337, 833-4-Valdez. And yesterday, we announced the death of Malcolm Jamal Warner, died swimming in Costa Rica, as it was reported. Today, we bring you Ozzy Osbourne, dead at 76 years old, just 2 weeks after his final concert. Now, I'm going to say rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne. I remember as a kid, he was the one, what did he do? He ate bats, right? He would rip the heads off of bats with his mouth. My brother was a big fan when I was a kid. And then he had that show with his wife and his daughter, and they were all very interesting people, the Osbournes. And then she had her own talk show, maybe still does, I don't remember. But what a storied career this man had. And very interesting. And again, 2 weeks after his final concert, that makes me think, I always think about, not always, but when I do think about, what the end looks like for me, and it's hopefully far off, but I always think I want to go out doing something I love. I really do. I on a beach, in a studio, really right in front of a microphone. I want to go out doing what if I have that choice, if I have that, not that choice, but if God grants you the wishes of your heart, type of thing. So, rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne. A controversial figure to many, but a really well-known one at that. Let's see. Louisville has dropped their sanctuary city status. Good for them. Good for them. You don't want to. I feel like it's unpopular to be in that position, and I guess based on the electorate locally, right? If you have a bunch of radical lefties in your constituency, then perhaps you might say, we're a sanctuary city. But I think even traditional Democrats, right? I mean, and we've seen this, Hispanics, blacks, those that have historically voted for Democrats, they're happy to vote for Democrats as long as you don't do stupid things, right? You don't say that boys are girls and girls are boys. You don't raise taxes. You don't stand in the way of their safety by saying, let's defund the police. Let's not work with federal law enforcement when you have people from foreign gangs that are out here raping people in these streets. Nobody wants that. Nobody. I can't think of a person that wants that except for, what's that guy's name? The senator from Maryland. Oh, geez, I'm drawing a blank. The one that went to go rescue Kilmar Obrego Garcia. Anyway, if anybody remembers, tell me in my ear. But that guy. Anyway, those are the people that love these guys. Trump in the White House today. Trump says Obama is guilty of treason in his White House meeting today. I played a clip of it before. I think I have a different one I'm going to play for you here because, again, Trump's on point here. I'm glad he's doing it because this is something that has to go into the record books the right way. Give me Trump number one.
The witch hunt that you should be talking about is they caught President Obama absolutely cold, Tulsi Gabbard. What they did to this country in 2016, starting in 2016, but going up all the way going up to 2020 in the election. They tried to rig the election, and they got caught. And there should be very severe consequences for that. When we caught Hillary Clinton, I said, you know what? Let's not go too far here. It's the ex-wife of a president, and I thought it was sort of terrible. And I let her off the hook, and I'm very happy I did. But it's time to start after what they did to me, and whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people. Obama's been caught directly. So people say, oh, a group. It's not a group. It's Obama. His orders are on the paper. The papers are signed. The papers came right out of their office. They sent everything to be highly classified. Well, the highly classified's been released. And what they did in 2016 and in 2020, is very criminal. It's criminal at the highest level. So that's really the things you should be talking about. I know nothing about the other, but I think it's appropriate that they do go.
So that, again, El Trumpito, again, doubling down on what the left did, and good. Again, I have to say, I'm happy that they did it. I'm happy that these things are coming to light. And again, they've come out several times, right? I mean, there was the arrest and prosecution and guilty plea of or guilty conviction of Kevin Kleinsmith, the FBI attorney who doctored things, only to, I guess, get off at the end, right, with something bogus. And the way that justice works for the deep state is so different than the way that justice works for everybody else. And this is why, ultimately, and I was talking about this during the break, that oftentimes when you're dealing with lawyers that are experts at breaking the law that they either in some cases help to create or at least on a daily basis work with, they know exactly how to walk up to the edge and not fall over, right? So it's one of those things where people would rather ask for forgiveness than for permission, and they're good at it. They know exactly what they're doing. I was making the case during the break in a sidebar conversation about P. Diddy, right? People are like, oh, but look at the Diddy case. You know, he's got good lawyers. Yes, and I agree. I think he has good lawyers. We also had a guest on this program who was the chief of the criminal division at the Department of Justice, Doug Burns. Shout out to Doug Burns, who pointed out that in his perspective and based on his 38 years as a prosecutor and a defense attorney, that they overcharged based on the evidence they had. So what does that mean, right? Let's scroll this back a little bit just to convolute things to a guy named Jack Smith, right? The prosecutor from The Hague, and what his reputation was. Jack Smith's reputation was one of losing on appeal, right? He was known for coming in with a big prosecution and winning for 5 minutes and losing on appeal at the end. And they did that when they went after Trump because that's the kind of guy you needed. We don't care if we have a real case. We don't care if this case really works. We just want to tarnish him and sully his name now, right before he runs for president again, or in the midst of him running for president again, right? So I could see the same thing happening with P. Diddy. I could see people saying, hey, look, corrupt people, right? All right, Sean Diddy Combs, how are you? It's so-and-so from the FBI. Listen, man, how much money you want this time? You keep coming at me. Look, I can't keep this under wraps any longer. Well, how about I send those photos of your wife and you're this and you're that? All right, but look, they'll send somebody else. Finally, they say, look, we got to make a deal here. We got to bring a case against you. How about we bring a RICO case? What do you mean a RICO case? I haven't done anything like that. Look, we'll bring the RICO case. We won't have enough evidence for it. We'll lose. You'll win. You'll probably get found guilty on 1 or 2 counts. You'll take it on the chin. You could negotiate later for a better sentence. And voila. I did my job, and you got off. Win-win. What do you say, Sean Diddy Combs? What's he going to do? Him, his lawyers, they're going to say, all right, you got a deal. And they make whatever deal, whatever leverage is available, they make their deal. There's all sorts of deals that go on all the time. I don't know what happened, but if I had to suspect, I'd bet it was something like that. Right? And that's why Diddy walks away. Because, everybody wants their pound of flesh, and they can get up to 20 years with the charges they have. Will he do the 20 years? Will he get 20 years in a sentence? I don't know. I'm going to say probably not. Because, again, the charge I saw was something like soliciting prostitution or something like that, right? Or being serving as a pimp or procuring prostitution. I forget the exact charge, but I understand it's punishable by up to 10 years, and there's 2 of those charges, so he can get up to 20 years. But will he, right, in light of not being prosecuted on the other ones? I don't know. And even if you know the sentencing guidelines, we don't know how it's going to go down. Why? Because this was probably a deal that was already made from the guys that were there from Biden's time when this whole thing happened. So that's the point that I'm making, is that there's always a deal going on when it comes to these things. And which is why Biden, I think, seemingly turned a blind eye, which I would say is not a blind eye. In fact, I'd say Joe Biden was facilitating the largest human smuggling, human trafficking operation in American history right at our southern border, and he was financing it with your tax dollars. And that's nothing to laugh at. And we continue to see more and more problems with these illegal immigrants, one of them shooting a federal Customs and Border Patrol agent in the face over the weekend. So I want to come back. I want to talk about that because this is a big story and we need to talk about it. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
By the way, your ratings are up. Congratulations. I had somebody. It's always nice to check. I like to see, even if they're friends, I like to see how are they doing. Are people listening, right?
That's
but
right.
You're doing great.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Department of Homeland Security says it will, quote, flood New York City with immigration agents in response to a Border Patrol agent being shot over the weekend.
Yeah, so we're also learning that a second person who was also in the country illegally, according to federal authorities, is now in custody. Pix 11's Henry Rossoff joining us now. And Henry, federal officials really took aim at the mayor and local police for allowing the shooting to happen. How so?
Yeah, they squarely laid blame at the feet of the mayor and at the city council for this shooting. Mayor Eric Adams and the sanctuary policies came under scrutiny. We've covered this extensively. The mayor's not exactly a supporter of Sanctuary City. We do have a response from the mayor. We were able to press Secretary Noem about some controversial immigration enforcement we've seen in the tri-state area.
Someone who has dedicated their lives to protecting the public is now fighting for his own.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says the Border Patrol agent shot late Saturday night remains in stable condition. The NYPD says he was off duty in Fort Washington Park with a friend when surveillance video shows he was approached by two men on scooters with guns in an apparent robbery attempt. The agent and the two men exchanged gunfire. One suspect, Miguel Francisco Mora Nunez, an undocumented immigrant with an extensive criminal past, including several recent arrests in New York City, was also shot. Monday, federal authorities confirmed there was an arrest of a second suspect, also in the country illegally.
Make no mistake, this officer is in the hospital today fighting for his life because of the policies of the mayor of this city and the city council and the people that were in charge of keeping the public safe.
But Mayor Eric Adams has been one of the few officials.
So Mayor Adams, of course, trying to weasel his way out of this, but he didn't do anything as mayor to try and stop the sanctuary city policies. You know else who didn't do anything? Andrew Cuomo, governor of New York. These guys, in fact, early on, I remember 2022, 2021, these guys were celebrating that stuff. So do I believe in the change of heart that Eric Adams has? Absolutely not. Do I believe that he has the best interests of New Yorkers or even this Customs and Border Patrol officer at the forefront here? I don't. I don't believe he's sincere. I think he's doing this out of political expediency. And I want to talk about this and overall the issue of immigration with our guest. Art Del Cueto is vice president of the National Border Patrol Council. He's a veteran in this business, and he's with us now. Art Del Cueto, welcome back.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
You bet. So let me get your reaction to what's going on here, because, of course, you know, what happened to the Customs and Border Patrol officer was horrible. It's a shame that it happened in New York City. And, you know, my prayers, my thoughts to him and his family. But where do we go from here?
Well, I mean, we have to move forward and find out where a lot of these individuals are that were allowed in during the Biden administration. You got to look at the entire situation here, right? The numbers at the border have gone down tremendously. Now you have ICE agents and Border Patrol agents assisting them with tactical enforcement in areas that they know where a lot of these criminals have been remaining, where you have people that have circumvented the law that didn't show up for immigration court. You're seeing it across the country. Yet these individuals, knowing that the heat is on, they felt perfectly comfortable riding around in their moped, committing crimes. Why is that? Mm-hmm. Because that's the sanctuary city policies. That's what it's done. It's created that magnet, and it's created that position for criminals to feel comfortable committing crimes because they don't think anyone's going to come after them.
Right, and it's this is a huge problem because you're right in saying they don't think anybody's coming after them, because in large part they don't. For a mayor that constantly says that he's working on making this America's safest city, and his predecessor oftentimes saying that New York City is America's safest large city, when in fact it wasn't. This is the same city where an illegal immigrant set a woman on fire just 2 or 3 months ago. This is an outrage to me that anybody believes that good things are happening in my hometown of New York City, Art del Cueto.
Definitely. It's a huge problem, and I'll tell you what, I was just talking to a couple of friends of mine that are out there in New York. I got a lot of friends out there in New York, and they were concerned because some of the media, it's showing ICE officials and immigration officials, Border Patrol, as the bad guys going in these homes. A lot of what you're seeing is, like I said, it's tactical enforcement because they know where these individuals are hiding, but they end up hiding in places where there's other individuals there that are also in the country illegally. They don't have the documentation. Those people are getting arrested at the same time. It's the fruits of the poisonous tree. But I assure you, the agents aren't out there trying to enforce and be the evil guys. What it comes down to is you have politicians on the left and you have media on the left that have done a very good job. I'll give them hats off to them. They've done a very good job of playing off the victim card and making the bad guys look like the good guys in the media. And that's what we need to stop. We need to realize that under the last 4 years of the Biden administration, there was a lot of individuals that were allowed in the country with serious criminal records. Many of times, and I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I'm witness to it myself. I saw individuals come in with a warrant out for their arrest for serious crimes, but they hadn't been convicted. They had been arrested and they left, and then they came back into the country. Well, when there was communications with those law enforcement agencies that had the warrant out, they said they didn't have the money to do the extradition. Therefore, because they were on immigration, they were released in the country. So there's many individuals that had committed crimes, and there's individuals that haven't been convicted, but they had warrants out for not showing up to court that were released in the country under the Biden administration.
Folks, we're on with Art del Cueto. He is the vice president of the National Border Patrol Council, the union representing the men and women of the Border Patrol. And Art, it's great to see that you guys have made so much progress at the border. The president's policies are working, yet it feels like we're not out of the woods yet. And when we come back, I want to get your take on exactly what the future of this looks like, because we're dealing with the deportation aspect of it, and a lot of people, like you said, the left within the media, the left within our government, and the left within the nonprofit sector seem to be all banding together to fight this and make it look like the big bad wolf is really just a bunch of honest cops doing what they're supposed to do. So, Art, stick with us. We're coming right back. Amigos, we're coming right back with the Vice President of the National Border Patrol Council, Art del Cueto, and me, Rich Valdez. Don't go anywhere.
Thanks for what you do. You have so many people. You ask the questions that if the viewer had a microphone, they would ask that question, and you seem to always ask it right at the right time. So God bless you, my friend.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
At the outset, I indicated to you that, in fact, New York State and other Democratic states cooperate with ICE when it comes to criminal convictions. But when it comes to innocent individuals who serve as your nanny, who clean your home, individuals who are our neighbors, individuals who unfortunately are just trying to make ends meet.
Both of these individuals had multiple arrests after deportation orders. Why are those not opportunities?
And that is why in the state of New York, when it comes to individuals, as you indicated, individuals with criminal convictions, then we cooperate with ICE. But it's important that we make a distinction between those individuals with criminal convictions and those individuals, again, who are just trying to make ends meet each and every day. And the vast majority of individuals who are being secreted and kidnapped at night are individuals who, again, are facing civil deportation and not criminal enforcement. It's important that we make a distinction. It's important that individuals understand that individuals are being caught up in these ICE raids, innocent individuals, students, teachers, small businesses. We all want the same thing, and that is to protect individuals from harm. But unfortunately, what we are seeing is mass ICE agents without any insignia, without any identification, kidnapping innocent individuals that both you and I know.
That is the Attorney General of New York State, Letitia James, on CNN today with Breonna Keeler. And I have to say, she just turned a question from Breonna Keeler, to her credit, who I criticize Breonna Keeler all the time. She asked a legitimate question here. Why, if this guy had several crimes under his belt and had deportation orders for these crimes, why was he still here? And are you guys cooperating with ICE to get these bad people out of here in the public interest? And the response she gives is that the vast majority of individuals are being secretly kidnapped at night. And we have to make a big distinction between facing civil deportation and criminal enforcement. And I have to say, who's the innocent person here? To me, it was the off-duty Customs and Border Patrol agent that was sitting on the rocks, looking at the water, hanging out, and enjoying life when these people came and robbed him, these two known criminals who should not have been here. I can't think of a statement that's crazier than the one I just heard. Art Del Cueto is vice president of the National Border Patrol Council. Art, am I overreacting here, or is this lady crazy?
No, it's mind-blowing that people can twist it that way and use that type of narrative. First and foremost, these individuals that are here illegally, they're illegal aliens. They're not illegal migrants, they're illegal aliens. That's the actual legal term. If people have an issue with it, I'm okay with them having an issue. Take the proper steps through Congress and try to get the language changed, but that's what they're called, first and foremost. Second of all, hearing this lady, it sounds like she wants them to commit the crime of a serious crime like a murder or a robbery or before they're arrested. They're here illegally. That, in a sense, is already the crime. So when other law enforcement officers come in contact with them, shouldn't they contact immigration and say, I have this individual in contact, I have him in my jail, I have him in detention, you need to come pick him up. And I'm going to give you a really easy example. As a Border Patrol agent, I don't arrest or detain people that are drunk, drinking, and driving. That's just the facts, right? But if I'm patrolling in an area and it's in a freeway and I have an individual that's driving down the road, swerving all over the place, and it is obvious that he is under the influence of some type of drug or alcohol, shouldn't I call local PD and say, this is a danger to the community, or should I wait for that drunk driver to hurt somebody before I call some kind of law enforcement to arrest them? It's that simple. When they're breaking the law or they're doing something illegal, you call the proper agency that handles that crime. In this case, if you detain somebody and they're here illegally, that is the crime, and you should call immigration officials.
Yeah, I'm with that. That doesn't sound very complicated to me.
Very simple.
You get these left-wing politicians that get in the way of you working with your brothers in blue, and the result is people getting shot in the throat. In this case, one of your colleagues. Crazy.
Absolutely. And then you look at all the other crimes that have been committed by individuals that have been here illegally. You know, they don't speak about those individuals. They still haven't spoken about the children that were lost during the Biden administration. I just, Representative Eli Crane just did a congressional hearing, and he spoke about that. And he was talking to some of these NGOs. There was a hotline that was developed where these children were supposed to call. They were supposed to call this hotline, and they received calls from kids claiming that they were being abused, but no one did anything about that. I think that's the next step. We need to find out, why did they not do anything about these phone calls that they received from kids?
Yeah, I agree with that. So what's the next step here? I know you guys are always, very forward thinking here. The deportations are underway. We know what's happening. What I guess you guys as a Border Patrol Council are there to look out for your guys and girls on the front line. But What initiative are you pushing to make sure that we move forward?
I think the issue forward, the border is more secure than it's ever been. We have that, pretty much under control. They're now doing the enforcement of the individuals that have been in this country illegally and individuals that circumvented the law. They're going after them. That's a huge step. Obviously, you have to find these missing children that went missing under the Biden administration. Find out where these children are. I mean, obviously, a lot of them are 18 or over now because it's been several years. So some of them are adults, but you still have to account for them and find out where those individuals are. And then you have to go after, some of these people in the sanctuary cities. You have to realize it's all in steps. Sanctuary cities create a magnet for crime, and that needs to end.
Art Del Cueto, how does a nice guy with such a great head of hair like you have get involved in this type of work?
Look, I have a goatee. I'm nice and shiny bald. I was about to shave my mustache off, but then the new Superman movie came out, so I said I don't want to do that because I don't want to see the memes after that one.
Did you wake up one day and say, I want to serve in federal law enforcement at the border? Was it a lifelong dream, or was it just something that you stumbled upon?
No, I grew up on the border. So my whole life I lived on the border. I lived in a border town my entire life. I saw Border Patrol agents. They were my heroes as a child. So I saw my entire life. Before the Border Patrol, I worked at a maximum security prison for the state of Arizona. And even before that, I worked as a wildland firefighter for some time.
Wow. It's quite a track record, right? Firefighter, prison, border.
Border Patrol. Yeah.
Man.
All on the border. All on the border.
It's hard to get one over on you. Art Del Cueto, keep up the good work, brother.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
Godspeed to you. You bet. Bye-bye. And amigos, we're coming back with your thoughts, your reactions, and everything else. By the way, if you want to follow Art, check him out at Art Del Cueto. The real Art Del Cueto is his handle on all of the social media. And check out the Border Patrol Council as well. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
I want to say thank you for what you do. You people speak the truth.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Here with me for more details, Josh Hammer, Senior Counsel for Article 3. Josh, what have you heard back from the Ethics Committee? Because it's gonna take Republicans, Mike Johnson and others, to agree to take up an investigation into Jeffries.
Yeah, Laura, we're still waiting. I mean, we just filed this complaint, so I mean, let's see what happens here. I mean, Chairman Michael Guest, I'm sure he's going to review our complaint very carefully. Obviously, Hakeem Jeffries there, I mean, just totally dismissing us. I mean, as the left-wing hack that he is. But Laura, you totally got this right there in your little tease. I mean, this is a blatant infringement on the separation of powers. I mean, it's pretty funny, isn't it? I mean, Democrats love to lambaste and excoriate President Trump for being a tyrant and a fascist. He's an imperial president there. He's trampling on the separation of powers, they tell us there. But then all of a sudden, when Hakeem Jeffries sees fit to dictate to the 17 federal judges in New Jersey, by the way, 15 of whom are nominated by Democrats, surprise, surprise, that's not really a coincidence, I would say, if you ask me, when he decides to tell them, oh, how dare you let Alina Habba get another 120 days there. I mean, look, the ruse is up, Laura. I think the American people see this for what it is, but we're still waiting to see what the Ethics Committee does. I think we're cautiously optimistic, though, because this is, again, a blatant infringement on the separation of powers.
That's our buddy Josh Hammer on the Fox News channel explaining what's going on with the ethics complaint that him and Mike Davis of the Article 3 Project brought against Hakeem Jeffries for his political involvement in trying to coerce judges to do his political will. And we're going to keep you posted on how that develops. But the big issue here is not that Hakeem Jeffries gets to speak his mind. It's that he's getting sitting judges to do his political will. And that's the part that I think is coloring outside of the lines. So I'm going to keep you posted, like I said, as we get more information on that. With, I believe, Alina Habba, the vote from these judges is to get rid of her and replace her with her first assistant. What happens next? Definitely not something I know, but we'll find out, and I'll keep you posted. I wanna invite you to share your thoughts and opinions. I know there's a few people on hold that want to talk about the deep state, that want to talk about immigration and a couple other things that are going on. The comments that Trump made about treason and sedition and all of those things. So here's the phone number: 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ. And let's go to our buddy Paul, patiently waiting. Boise, Idaho, streaming the show on richvaldez.com. Of course, that is Valdez with an S. Paul, go right ahead.
Yeah, Rick. Paul, I didn't have enough time to talk to you about the other experience I've had with Leon Panetta.
Oh, are you hanging out with deep staters nowadays?
No. I grew up in the same town that he did, went to the same Catholic church that he did, was baptized in the same Catholic church, was born in the same hospital. We had a lot of paths that crossed, but they didn't really touch. He actually knew my mother quite well. His wife's name is Sylvia, and my mother's name was Sylvia.
Oh, wow.
And,
it's funny what they say about the 6 degrees of separation, right, Paul?
Well, it didn't seem like there was that much separation.
Yeah, right. You guys are even closer than that. Would you say he was a decent guy, or, what we think about him is the truth?
Well, he's a deep stater. I didn't want to admit that, but he definitely is. And he...
I don't think you could be the head of the CIA and, in the era that he was, right? And I guess the pre-Trump era, when Trump was just coming on the scene, those years, I don't think you could get that job without being a deep stater. I think today they have reformers in there. They have people that are looking to do things differently. So, different times, right?
Yeah, they were. Did you know that he had a twin brother?
No, I had no idea. Does he look just like him, like identical twin?
They're pretty close, yeah.
Wow. Biden and his brother look a lot alike. They're not identical twins, but whenever you see him, I always stay looking at him going, he looks so familiar. Oh, that's why. He looks like Joe El Baboso Biden. I always think about the type of trouble that I would, the havoc I would wreak, I should say, if I had a twin brother out there. I don't know. We'll see if it happens in another life. Paul, I'm gonna pause right here and bid you adieu. But thank you for the call, my brother. Godspeed to you. Before the break, I want to get to Mario, who's calling us from Chicago, Illinois, on WLS. Mario, go right ahead.
How you doing, Rich? Just a quick note. I agree with you on the Epstein papers wholeheartedly. They should just be dropped, even though whatever. That's all I wanted to say. I don't see any point in going after a dead Bush. That's all.
Yeah. And listen, this isn't a hard one for me, right? If people want to stick with it, go ahead. If we can get to somebody that is perpetuating these crimes, then, beyond this man's death, if Ghislaine Maxwell is willing to make some sort of deal and say, yep, and this is the guy that used to pay us, and yep, and this is where you get him, and yep, I can help you make a trap, and if you tell this one you've got this, and we'll get those bad people, then listen, I'm all for it. I don't want anybody trafficking kids. I don't want to see that stuff. My kids lived such a sheltered life when they were young because of this. I was afraid of this happening. However, I am going to say, if you've got people that aren't willing to make a deal, what does Trump always say? Walk away from the table, right? Ghislaine Maxwell doesn't want to make a deal. Stay in jail a little longer. We'll come back later. Maybe we can make a deal. Maybe we can't. We'll see. Right? I think that's the only way you can treat this. So now it seems like she's, I wouldn't say she's ripe for the picking. I would say that she smells blood in the water, her legal team does, and says, you know what? Maybe we can make a deal here. Maybe we can get you back on the political radar. Let's see what we can do. right? And this is to her benefit to be in the media. I think oftentimes people, Mario, they forget how much power is associated. And I don't mean like from my side, but really from their side. When you're in the media as a guest, as part of the news, you're this is good for you. This builds your brand, right? Look at Trump. When he, good or bad, he's the first story on every newscast around the world many times because of what happened today in the White House, because of new policies, because of things he said. So I think she's trying to pick up on that and realizing, you know what, this my stock goes up when I make some headlines. We'll see what happens, but I agree with you. If we can put it to bed, we should. If we have to, then we have to. We got to pull on every thread. Mario, thanks for the call, my brother. And Lester, we're coming right back to you right after the pause. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, to the phones we go. Let's go to Lester, Daytona Beach, Florida, WTTB. Lester, go right ahead.
Thank you, Rich. I was just thinking of Donald Trump's famous words, fight, fight. He means every bit of it when he says fight, fight. And I hope the best for him. And I hope the best for Curtis Sliwa, too. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, listen, I'm with you. And I think you're right. And, you know, I remember having an interview, doing an interview with President Trump. And at the time, the rhetoric from the left was, he's too toxic, he can't win. And you had people, a few even on the Republican side, that were, you know, agreeing with it, saying, we need somebody more moderate, somebody that everybody can get around. And I asked him that question. I said, you know, how do you react to this commentary that you're too toxic? And that's exactly what he said. He said, I'm a fighter, and I have to fight back. And that's admirable, I believe. I believe it's admirable. You do have to fight back. Oftentimes, there are a few people that will be better at defending you than you yourself. And I think he does that. And quite frankly, between defending himself and earnestly defending this republic, you and me, and what this country has stood for and what it can stand for in the future, is really what Trump is invested in here. You know, I oftentimes wonder, if I was put in a position, I've been to Mar-a-Lago. It's a beautiful place. I've been to Trump Tower, also very nice. And I can tell you, I wouldn't mind living there. I wouldn't mind living in either of those places. And if you tell me you can live here and you never have to be president ever, and you get all the perks and you can travel all over the place and a jet with your name on it, I'd probably opt for that. I don't think I would opt to become president of the United States. Seems like a very hard and thankless job. Yet President Trump does it. And some would say, well, a bunch of other guys have done that job too. But I would say none of them went broke in the process like he did, right? I'm not saying he's broke, but, you know, he lost money on the deal. And I think that's an important thing. It's an important point. So I think you're right. Lester, thanks for the call. Shout out to Daytona Beach, Florida, WTTB in the building. We got calls from Oregon, calls from across the country coming in right now. I'm joining you for another hour, so keep it locked right here. If you're on hold, continue holding on. We're going to get to your calls momentarily. And everybody else, don't go anywhere. I'm coming right back. I'm Rich Valdez.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez. America's favorite late night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media, back with another hour for you. It's 7 minutes past the top of the hour. It is Tuesday night. Happy to be here. It's a blessing to be with you. Thank you for allowing me into your homes, into your cars, wherever you're listening. I appreciate you listening. And everybody on the podcast, thanks for listening on the podcast. I've been getting so many positive reviews, 5-star reviews. Thank you for plugging the podcast. And our phone number is 833-482-5337, 833-4-Valdez. And a bunch of things going on. Of course, it is live. It is late night. I'm trying to bring you the latest on everything that's happening. If it's happening in America and it's happening at night, we're talking about it. And today there was a bunch of things that occurred that I want to get your take on and discuss with respect to trade, with respect to Trump's allegations of President Obama, the Obama people issuing a statement, and of all people, we have a report from Nicole Wallace chiming in on what Obama had to say. Of course, Nicole Wallace, former Republican, or I guess she still calls herself a Republican, but not very conservative, not very MAGA, kind of a Bush Republican that went to MSNBC of all places. But listen to the response of President Obama after President Trump says what Obama did was seditious, what he did was treasonous, and everybody should be investigated. Listen to this.
Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard said that President Obama's officials engaged in a, quote, seditious conspiracy and hid evidence that Russia did not interfere in the 2016 election. Donald Trump's claims today, an accusation of a crime that is punishable by death, so outrageous that they drew this rare rebuke from President Barack Obama's office. It reads, quote, out of respect for the office of the presidency, our office does not normally dignify the constant nonsense and misinformation flowing out of this White House with a response. But these claims are outrageous enough to merit one. These bizarre allegations are ridiculous and a weak attempt at distraction. Nothing in the document issued last week undercuts the widely accepted conclusion that Russia worked to influence the 2016 presidential election, but did not successfully manipulate any votes. These findings were affirmed in a 2020 report by the Bipartisan Senate Intelligence Committee, led by then Chairman Marco Rubio. The very same Marco Rubio, little Marco to Donald, who currently serves as Trump's Secretary of State and National Security Advisor. His report concluded that Russia conducted an influence campaign in 2016 to do this, quote, harm the Clinton campaign, tarnish an expected Clinton presidential administration, help the Trump campaign after Trump became the presumptive Republican nominee, and undermine the U.S. democratic process. That conclusion was further bolstered earlier this month when Donald Trump's current CIA director, a man named John Ratcliffe, released a review that, as NBC News points out, quote, did not refute the findings of the intelligence assessment that Russia sought to interfere in the election.
That again, Nicole Wallace giving her 2 cents there and telling us what Obama had to say, taking shots at the Secretary of State while trying to give his commentary. And again, this is typical of the deep state. And I guess here, I'm going to give you a little rant, right? Whether you like it or not, you're going to get it. I have a brother whose middle name might as well be QAnon because he's hook, line, and sinker on this. And when I talk to him, his name is Joe, by the way. I talk to Joe, and he's always, oh, watch this, it's happening, it's finally happening, this is this, and that's that. And listen, I don't do it to mock him. His information's right on so many levels, but not this one, right? The one part that I think he's lost sight of what our Constitution is and what it stands for in our republic, and how we can do certain things, but we can't do all the things. And as we go back and forth on this, it's my contention, and again, when I talk with people who are more learned than I, they all agree. When you look at the statute for treason and sedition, there's some clear language there, right? There's clear language around aiding and abetting someone that is an enemy of the United States, as identified, as I read the statute, of somebody that we're actually in a war with, right? So now, I don't say this to undercut anything that President Trump said. He's the president. He's the number one politician in America. He could say what he wants because he's the president, and B, listen, there's a lot of things that you can say, whether there's a clear path for them happening and not, doesn't mean that they shouldn't be happening, right? I do believe that there's enough information out there for all of us to see, and I'm talking about since 2017. I've seen enough information to indicate to me that an unarmed coup happened on this country. They tried to oust Trump from office. They tried to prevent him from coming into office before that. Then they impeached him twice, in my opinion, on incredibly false, flimsy, and thin pretenses. That is a disgrace. It's a disgrace to what this country stands for, but it happened. And each time you do something like that, it kind of effaces America, in my opinion, right? We lose a little bit more of ourselves. But we're still here, and we're still fighting the good fight. And Americans opted for the right choice last November to be their commander-in-chief. All these things are great. It's my belief, my understanding, not my desire, just my belief and my understanding, that while politicians say what they want, or even radio hosts for that matter, right? Maybe to a lesser degree, but anybody who wants to say whatever they want, they can say it. Unless somebody's going to sue you, and they better have a good reason to sue you. Now, sometimes people get good lawsuits and they make a lot of money. But for the most part, you can truly say what you want, up to and including harming people. Look at this E. Jean Carroll. She said all these things about Trump. He says, it never happened. She's ugly. It's not my type. I wouldn't even try. I believe him when he said that. He said that. She turned that into a whole lawsuit against him where he proved himself innocent, but because he said that she wasn't his type, he wasn't attracted to her, voila, that got him in trouble on something else. Again, was it fair? No. Did he deserve to get in trouble for that? Absolutely not. But this is the game they play. How do they get away with it? There's more of them than there are of us in certain places, like the federal courts, like New York City political endeavors, right? Whether it's a New York City court, it's a New York City this, a New York City that. I say all of that to say Obama knows what he's doing when he says, I had a meeting and blah, 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 and blah, 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 and based on this intelligence and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. He didn't address what Trump said. He gave a clean, politically correct response to hopefully walk away from what Trump is pointing out that he did. Some people are going to buy it. I think some are not. Hopefully most won't. Well, what are we going to do? Impeach Obama? Turn back the hands of time? We could lock him up and throw away the key. Sure. How does that work? Right? Even today, President Trump reiterated that when that he could have gone after Hillary Clinton for whatever it was that she did with the server, with the email, with this, with that. And he opted not to because she is an ex-first lady, the ex-wife of a president. Not ex-wife, but former first lady, basically. The former woman married to the president. This means something to him. Why? Because this country means something to him. I'm not going to sit here and try and persuade Trump to turn us into a laughingstock. And I've got some close friends I consider family in Brazil. My godmother, she's back in Brazil. But I want to say, I don't want to be Brazil. I don't want to be Brazil where their last president is facing jail time now or who's locked up or something like that. Their previous president, Lula, was in jail, and they took him out of jail to run against the current guy, Bolsonaro, who was decent. He was a MAGA guy. So I don't want that to be the United States. I guess part of me likes the idea that we are above the fray. Now, does that mean I want them, the deep state actors, to get away with murder? No, of course not. That just means that we've got to make sure that these things don't happen again. And I think that's exactly what El Trompito is doing. Anyway, that was my story. Now, we're going to talk about trade. We're going to talk about socialism, capitalism, as well as, let me see, what the Democrats want to do with all the power they have, plus your calls. Those are coming up right after this. So keep it locked right here. I'm Rich Valdez.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Look at Rich Valdez. He's now a radio host, and he's a great radio host.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Getting some breaking news right now out of Washington, D.C. Eamon Javers brings us that. Hello, Eamon.
Just posting on social media a short time ago details of a trade deal with Indonesia. The president saying that the U.S. tariff rate on Indonesia will be 19%, that Indonesia will go to zero on what they say are 99% of U.S. exports to Indonesia. They're also going to lower, the Indonesians are, non-tariff barriers. According to senior administration officials, Indonesia has agreed to accept U.S. federal motor vehicle standards. They're committing to removing export restrictions on critical minerals and a number of other items that the U.S. considers trade barriers that are sort of non-tariff related trade barriers. So a deal here being announced on social media by the president calling it a huge win for our automakers, tech companies, workers, farmers, ranchers, and manufacturers. Contessa, back over to you.
So that is the scoop on Indonesia. And I want to break down overall trade policy, the effectiveness of tariffs with our guest. Our guest is Spencer Morrison. He's the editor-in-chief at National Economics Editorial. And Spencer Morrison, welcome, sir. I want to get your take not only on this Indonesia deal, but overall the effectiveness of President Trump's tariff strategy.
Well, good evening. Thanks for having me on the program. And
Pleasure.
It sounds like there's a deal with Japan as well that's just come out today.
Yes, yeah, we could talk about Indonesia and Japan, and we have another segment together, so we could talk about the overall win or not win of the trade policy in that segment. Go right ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm optimistic. I mean, this has been a long time coming. I think most of the listeners are going to be aware, the playing field has not been level for American producers in a long time. We've been running a large chronic trade deficit every single year since 1974. And of course, the cumulative value of that trade deficit, the value of the goods and services that we purchased as opposed to sold, when you account for inflation, it's $28 trillion since then. So there's been a massive, massive outflowing of capital and resources from from America. And this is the first sortie that we've seen in like 50 years that's bringing the jobs back home.
So it seems like this is, and I mentioned this the other night, this is it reminds me of a time when President Trump was talking about bringing back manufacturing to the United States, and President Obama mocking him when he was running against Hillary Clinton, I believe, at the time, saying, what's he going to do, wave a magic wand? And, I jokingly say, yes, he's waved the MAGA wand. And it seems to be working. And I think a lot of economists and people that were critical of President Trump, even CEOs, Ken Langone just last week, several people out there have kind of done an about face saying, you know what, this is way better than I thought it was. And listen, I was a proponent of President Trump's and was all for the tariffs blindly, right? I knew that this had the potential to go south, but I felt like it was going to go well because we did it before in the first Trump administration. And, after there was some increase in washing machines and things of that nature, things started to level out and it worked out. But this time, it seems to have skyrocketed, and it's working better than, at least better than I ever anticipated, and I think better than most. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are really happy with it. The reality is that President Trump's first term, there's a lot of feeling out of how this was all going to pan out, right? Mm-hmm. What President Trump was doing with the tariffs was, is something that hadn't been done in earnest since at least the 70s, and frankly, the tariffs were, essentially nothing after the Marshall Plan at the end of World War II. So, this is a historic policy. Of course, America was founded as a high tariff nation. It had the highest average tariff rates all throughout the 1800s. But President Trump was feeling that out in the first term. And I think he really hit the ground running this term, with the Liberation Day tariffs, the so-called reciprocal tariffs. So we're getting a lot of traction on it. And, the deadline's coming up. The president said, you got until August 1st. After that, the Liberation Day tariffs are back in effect. So there's been a couple of trade deals that have been worked out. Most of the countries haven't come to the table. And, honestly, I'm not surprised. They've been getting a great deal, just pillaging the country. So, most of them aren't going to want to negotiate. So I would be very, very pleased to see the tariffs back in full force.
Yeah. Folks, we're on with Spencer Morrison. He is a instructor of law, the editor-in-chief of National Economics Editorial, and the author of Reshore, Tariffs Will Bring Our Jobs Home and Revive the American Dream. Spencer Morrison, your thoughts on the deal with Japan?
Well, Japan, frankly, has been one of these countries that we've had a very asymmetrical trade relationship with for a very long time. So I think it's a big win to have really any deal with them. Does it go far enough? Time will tell. I mean, ultimately, we're playing with numbers in terms of tariff rates that are, to some degree, uncharted, right? And so we'll see if it's enough. I think the Japanese market, is a great market. There's a lot of consumer spending. It's a really rich economy. And I think there's a lot of sectors of the American economy that will benefit from more symmetrical trade relationships with Japan. And one of the things that people need to understand is, the Japanese tariff game, that's not their primary game. It's tough to get your products in the market through a whole bunch of other non-monetary barriers to entry.
Right.
And President Trump, he noted that that's something that's going to be changing. So we're going to have to wait for details on that to see exactly what that means. But if there's movement on that front, on the non-financial front, I think that's actually where the deal is going to shine. But again, we don't have any details on that, so can't comment on it right now.
Outstanding. Spencer Morrison, folks, check him out at the National Economics Editorial and check out his book, Reshore, Tariffs Will Bring Our Jobs Home and Revive the American Dream. Spencer Morrison, you're a gentleman, a scholar, and a patriot, and I thank you for being here, sir.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
From Brooklyn, New York, we have a diaspora that can absorb a significant number of these migrants. And when I hear colleagues talk about, the doors of the inn being closed, no room in the inn, I'm saying, I need more people in my district, but just for redistricting purposes. And those members could clearly fit here.
That is Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, a Democrat from New York, openly admitting that she needs more illegal aliens in her district for redistricting purposes. That's the apportionment, saying, the minute she's got more than 760,000 people, they can add. She can ask for more money for her appropriations. She can eventually maybe add a district for Democrats if they have enough people, even if they're not citizens. Imagine that. People that are living in a district because they're counted by the census, and that's the way that works. If they weren't counted by the census, if they only counted citizens, that wouldn't happen. And the reason they never opted to do that is very simple, because they never thought we would be outnumbered by this, right? But we saw last year the amount of people getting jobs outweighed American-born versus foreign-born. That was significant, and it's never happened before. That's because of the tens of millions of illegal immigrants that we have in the country, combined with illegal immigrants that have come before them. So times are a-changing. And again, I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. It's a bad thing to have illegal immigration. It's a good thing to have legal immigration when you need it. But when you have unchecked illegal immigration, boy, do we have a problem on our hands. And this is what the Democrats like. And today, they admitted it. I want to go to your calls. Our phone number, of course, 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ. And let's see, James has been waiting. Eugene, Oregon, KUGN, great station, by the way. James in Eugene, Oregon, go right ahead, sir.
Well, Mr. Valdez, thanks for taking the call.
Pleasure, sir. Honor.
And just on trade, I think President Trump's definitely going in the right way. I work for a company that they made parts for a certain product, and so they also made a few different products that went together for the finished product. So that's kind of what we need to do, I think, in the U.S. is at least get enough production going on certain goods so that, just to keep everybody else honest, in case, something happens. And I think that's where President Trump's going. And the other issues, some of the trans issues and the immigration issues, I think we're just trying to make logical arguments for those. And I think it just comes down to greed, Democrats, at least in Oregon, in occupied territory, they have something called PERS, and it's just a retirement package, which is just a screaming deal, and health care, which is, you don't got to pay anything. So I think just to kind of put everybody back on the playing field, why don't we just, everybody's on Social Security and everybody's got a 401, and if you can get in the private sector, if you can get like a pension, which I think that's as rare as unicorns, but
nowadays,
if you can do that, that's fine. But anything that has to do with the government, or like if you're getting something for free from the government, I believe that's that's not going to work. I think
I agree. I think anytime you get something for nothing, it doesn't work overall, right? If you're negotiating, there should be a real good give and take. And the reason I say that is because if you think for a second, if you're negotiating anything, right, just buying a car, buying a house, negotiating a job offer, whatever it is, and you get everything you want and they're not asking for anything, either they're desperate and they're bad negotiators, or it's a lopsided deal here. There's something that you're not seeing, because all that glitters isn't gold. And I'd be concerned in a situation like that. So I think you're right on that point. As far as the state pension system for people to opt in, not a crazy idea for states to get in on something like the Social Security system. I don't know if everybody wants their state doing that. I can tell you, look, I live in New Jersey, and in New Jersey, we've had a public employees pension fund that it's protected by the New Jersey state constitution. So they will forego a whole bunch of other things that are not constitutionally mandated before they stop paying out on pensions. And I'm not advocating for them to stop paying out on pensions, but I'm just saying public employee pensions are held in extremely high regard in New Jersey. So do they do a good job with them? No. They've gambled away the pension fund. They've gambled away the transportation trust fund. They've gambled away a bunch of things. The New Jersey, the taxes that came in for the New Jersey Turnpike, supposed to be for a year. Then they said 2 years. Now I think it's been 25 years that we've had a turnpike, and they're still collecting tolls, and they're thinking about selling it to a private company. And we learned earlier this year that some of the Easy Pass operations have been brokered out to who? Chinese-owned companies that are suspected to have affiliation with the Chinese government because of the way their government operates. I mean, just crazy things are happening. So when it comes to the government doing more, I'm always so leery about that. James in Eugene, Oregon, thank you for your call, my brother. I appreciate it. Let's go to Florida, WFOY. I want to check in here with Walter, St. Augustine, Florida. Go right ahead, sir.
Hey, Rich. Ozzy Osbourne, as you mentioned, went out doing what he liked. And you said you hope when your time comes, you would like to be doing what you like. So here's the big question, mi hermano. For me, the answer is yes. If you could, would you want to know the date that your time will come?
Man, what a great question. And one I'd like to open up to all of our listeners as well, because I think it would be great, for them to chime in on this too. If you had a chance to know what day would be your last day on Earth, would you like to know, and what would you do? And you can call in on that if you want to, 833-482-5337. Walter, my amigo in St. Augustine, Florida, WFOY, I'll tell you this. Yes, I would like to know, because I would like to throw a party. I'd like to get a DJ. I'd like to do everything that's on the bucket list, right? It would be an incredible blessing, I think is the word I'm looking for, to say, man, on this date of that year, it's my last day. I'm having a going away party. I want to make sure you come. It's going to be great. We're going to have a tribute. You get to roast me. You get to toast me. Whatever you want to do, we're going to do it. And I think that would be really just a joy. It would be a tremendous way to go out. Do we get that? Of course not, right? We're just doing pie in the sky thinking over here. But I would love it, and I could orchestrate. I could be like, hey, I'm going to throw a party. We're going to have a great time. Then I'm going to do a live show from the party, and then I'm going to check out. Take care. Bye-bye. I don't know how I would do that, but it would be something along those lines. Walter, St. Augustine, Florida, WFOY. Thank you, my brother. Excellent call. And again, if anybody else wants to chime in on that, I'd love to know your thoughts. If you knew, like Walter mentioned, that today is was the last day for Ozzy Osbourne. Yesterday it was announced that Malcolm Jamal Warner from The Cosby Show had his last day. If you could know when you were going to die, would you want to know? 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
All right, we make our way across the country to California. Susanville, California, KSUE. We check in with David. Go right ahead.
Hi. I just wanted to pass on a funny phrase in Spanish to all the Spanish-speaking illegals, especially Venezuelans. So se puedes.
Leave if you can, right? And for those who are from Iran and those who are from China and everybody else that's illegal, yes, leave if you can. I think you're right. And I think it's open season right now, especially if you're a gang member, right? They're going after the gang members hard, David.
That's right.
That's
I
funny.
just thought it was kind of funny to say that.
It was clever.
Yeah,
very
but
good.
It makes sense, doesn't it? Now that we got Hudspeth in there.
And what's funny is Obama's, or was it not Obama? It was Jill Biden. Si se puede, but she messed it up and she said, si se puede. She was funny. You did a lot better than she did. David, thanks for the call, brother. Shout out to Susansville, California, KSUE in the building. And we continue. Where are we going? We're going to Tony. Tony's in Montreal, Canada, listening on WVMT out of Vermont. Tony, what's up, my man?
How are you, Rich? My favorite man on the radio. I love you, man. You're the best.
Thank you, brother. Right back at you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Listen, all these pontificators and proselytizers, I want Rich Valdez to answer a question. In University of Toronto, they have a left and a right debate once a month. There's some kind of, university debate, the team there. I don't know what it's called. Why don't you have AOC, Feta, Omar Feta, Imelda Padilla, let's see, Mandami, and don't have a Republican debate them. Have a Canadian conservative guy that has nothing to do with U.S. politics, that's lived under socialism. Tell them what it's like to live under a socialist economy and a socialist government. where they're taxing you at 60% when you're earning $100,000 a year, and then you're getting another 15% tax on your goods when you buy them in the store. And then at the end of that, you've got to pay municipal tax at 2% of the value of your home, plus water tax, plus school tax. So at the end of the day, you make $15,000 on $100,000. Why don't we have those guys debate, let's say an educated guy from Canada that has no agenda in American politics. But
well, I'm going to pick you, Tony. I'm going to pick you to debate those guys. But you know what they're going to tell you? They're going to tell you, you get free health care. You get everything under the sun for free. You have Canada where you can't even have a gun. You can't even talk about the Bible or Christianity. Not every verse in the Bible. Some of them are considered hate speech. And they're going to defend all these wonderful things that you guys have going on in Canada. And they're going to say this is the utopia they're trying to bring to the United States.
It hasn't worked in Canada, Rich. Listen, I can't even buy a handgun in Canada. But, you know, we're hunters. My son and I, we love shooting. My dad taught me, he sent me to a military camp when I was a kid, but we didn't call it military camps. We called it survival outdoor camping camps, where you learned how to shoot a gun. You learned how to read a map. You learned what orienteering was. They sent you in the woods, and you had to find yourself out with a map, a contour map, and a compass. You had to cook in the woods. You had to survive. And, you know, that makes you tough, Rich. And, you know, that's what's called traditional America. In Canada and the United States, we're tough people. We are not soft people. And anyone in the world that thinks we're soft, and I'm pointing at China and Russia and the enemies of the United States and Canada, try to come here and beat us on our territory. They're going to be sadly mistaken. And so will the Democrats, because they're trying to underbelly us. They're trying to come in through the back door. But we got to fight them intellectually and put their ideas back where they belong, in the garbage. And that's the bottom line.
You know, Tony, two things. Number one, I love what I'm hearing. I love your passion, and it would be great to see you take these people on in your university debate in Canada. And you're right, man. We're not tough people, but I mean, we are tough people. But when people meet guys like former Prime Minister Trudeau, I think, you know, they get the wrong idea. They get the wrong impression. And that's part of the problem. Something you mentioned made me think of it. I don't know if I've shared this story with you or not. I've definitely shared it on the air, but it was June 19th or so about a month ago, 6, maybe 7 years ago. I was in the Puerto Rican parade with Curtis Sliwa, believe it or not. We were marching in the parade together. I saw AOC, and he says, "Hey, why don't you go there and say hello to her?" And only because he asked me, what is that banner she's holding? And she was holding a banner that said Todos Juntos, which in Spanish means all together. And I said, it means all together. And he said, well, if you're all together, then maybe today, since it's Puerto Rico Day, you can go say hello to her. I said, you know what? So I took my teenage daughter with me. She was right, you know, on one side of Fifth Avenue. I walked to the other side of Fifth Avenue to say hi to her. And by the time I got there, and I walked pretty quickly too, but she was a few feet away from me. And I said, hey, Congresswoman. And she looked at me. She gave me the nastiest look. And then she jogged to the other side of the street, like seemingly running away from me. And I didn't know what that was all about. But I guess she didn't want to talk to me because I've been calling her out on the radio locally in New York City, saying that she was afraid of having a debate on capitalism versus socialism. And lo and behold, she just didn't want to talk to me. Her people told her not to talk to me or whatever. And it was a funny thing, and it got caught on tape. And the New York Post played the video, and it was a whole big thing. But it was interesting. So when you talk about having debates with these people, I've challenged her to a debate. Curtis Sliwa has challenged Mandani to a debate. So far, no takers. But I think Mr. Mamdani will have to accept a debate with Curtis Sliwa because he's seemingly hanging in there with them, which is odd, right? Honestly, in New York, Republicans typically trail. Rudy Giuliani lost 2 elections before he won a third to become mayor of the city of New York. So I think Curtis is in a really advantageous position, and I hope that he can have a debate. And if nothing else, hopefully we can have them visit you guys in Canada, and you can debate them for us, Tony. Thanks for the call, my brother. Godspeed to you. Amigos, we come back. We're going to Alabama and more. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, welcome back. I want to go to Dothan, Alabama, WDBT. JW, you're on with Rich Valdez. Go right ahead.
Kuma star to my northern freedom-loving brother from your southern freedom-loving brother down here in the
My
region
man.
of God and Eden. Listen,
Amen.
Latricia James, the statement she just made about ICE and the illegals, man, she is a proven liar and a very deceptive person on her practices, the way she conducts herself. Why would anybody even give a thought of credibility her way, Rich?
You know what it is? There's these 5 boroughs in New York City that really, like many places, kind of like Baltimore does, kind of like Camden does, a lot of the biggest, bluest cities, they can tip an election for Democrats, even in states where there's a lot of, California is the state of Reagan, and but for Los Angeles, you've got some red state Republicans in California, Northern California, even a lot of the Mexicans, right? There's a lot of Mexicans in Southern California that are very conservative, but you wouldn't know it because of all of the blue state liberals. And sadly, I think the same thing happens in New York. Letitia James ran on a platform of I'm going to get Trump, and she had support from all of these leftist transplants that make their way into New York. So while she's the attorney general of the entire state, she had all the support from all the lefties coming out of New York City. And then she did her best to oust Andrew Cuomo, and I believe that to be true. I'm not saying he didn't do what she said he did, but she brought it at such an advantageous time, right? They were bringing up stuff that happened years and years and years earlier. Again, I don't doubt it happened, but I'm saying why now? It was such a curious timing. And she brought that whole sexual harassment suit against him. And then after he resigns, she says, hey, I'm running for governor too. And then she says, all right, hold on. I'm actually not running for governor. Why? Because she couldn't raise the money. She couldn't get the support. Not as easy as she thought it was going to be. So how does she get elected? I'm with you. How do people not see through it? I'm with you. Trust me. But the bottom line is there are evil forces at play, is all I can tell you. People who want to see the wrong people doing the wrong thing and putting them in positions of power. JW, thank you for your call, my amigo. God bless to you and everybody in Dothan, Alabama on WDBT. And amigos, I want to thank all of you again for subscribing to the podcast, for leaving 5-star reviews on the podcast. It means a lot to me. I appreciate all of your kind words. You left some very, very nice comments and lots of new listeners, and I appreciate that, as well as you letting me into your home. It's always an honor and a pleasure to be with you guys. If you missed any portion of the show and you want to catch the interviews, some stations play them out of order. That's fine. You're still getting the new stuff from today. But if you want to catch a replay of the show or share it with somebody you love, go to richvaldes.com, and everything's available for you there. Hasta la próxima. Take care. Good night. And God bless you, America. I'm Rich Valdez.